Disclaimer. This is a work of satirical fiction. Any resemblance to real places or situations is purely coincidental and exaggerated for comedic effect. The story intentionally contains factual inaccuracies and absurdities as part of its artistic expression.
I spent some time with Jeff Berwick recently. Went to Acapulco, Mexico for Anarchapulco, met him, spent some time with him. He has been watching the systematic genocide and displacement of whites. He's been keeping an eye on all of this. By the way, Jeff, did you see this trip, the Trump trip to the Middle East?
Well, there's a lot to talk about there. First of all, going to meet with Saudi Arabia. Does anyone remember? Does anyone? People seem to have no memories. I don't know if it's the fluoride or what it is, that all the 9/11 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. Now, all of that was untrue. All of it was untrue, but that's the official story that they say. And then the U.S. went and attacked Iraq and destroyed it. And
with these people,
Israel.
though,
and
despite the fact that they were not the pilots on these so-called planes on 9/11, these people certainly did have a lot to gain by those towers coming down, and they absolutely celebrated it.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm just saying the official story of 9/11 was that there was Saudi hijackers, right? And then they go and destroy Iraq on behalf of Israel. Then they go and try to destroy Afghanistan, basically on behalf of Israel. And now Trump's going over to meet with the place where they say all these hijackers were from, and strike all kinds of business deals to actually create smart city concentration camps, to create more AI lethal injections. Sam Altman was there, Jeff Bezos was there, and not to mention, the whole thing with all the Trump people was, oh, he's going to release the Epstein files. Well, he's actually met with numerous of the Epstein's top clients in just the last week. Just last week, he met with a top client and friend of the Epsteins, Mark Carney, who's now the World Economic Forum Crime Minister in Canada. And then he flew over and met with what might be one of the biggest clients of Epstein, which is Mohammed bin Satan, who is the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. He's very well known as one of the top clients of Epstein. And he went over and did all kinds of transactions to bring in AI to actually to roll out the Greater Israel Project, which they've always had as part of it being Saudi Arabia. And they're actually going to put that Noam thing, which is like a smart city concentration camp if they fill up the prison in El Salvador too much. And that's actually going to be in the new Greater Israel Project. So it's all moving forward with all these Israeli sort of things. And I should point out too, Stu, I don't know if you probably did. I haven't watched you for the last few weeks. I've been in Europe. But there was that big thing that all the mainstream press articles that Trump had walked away from Milkowski. I always forget his fake name, Netanyahu. He walked away from him, and there was a big device, and Trump wasn't on board with him anymore. And I saw all these maggats, M-A-G-A-T-S, maggats, all saying, you see, he's not totally controlled by Israel.
Yeah, Trump is totally based. Yeah, he gets it. He understands it. He's totally based on Israel. He's pushing him away. Save Israel for last. Yeah, I saw it all.
Yeah, and then he went on 2 days later and said, oh, no, he supports completely Netanyahu. Then he even did a Jewish Memorial Month address from the White House right after that, talking about how important the Jews are to America and all these sort of things. And then, like I said, he went to Saudi Arabia and met with one of Epstein's top clients. He's also one of the most evil people in the world. People haven't really even looked into the Saudi stuff. And they're also, there's a lot of evidence they're Jewish.
I think the Saudi royal family is full of crypto Jews.
Yes, which is very typical, right? So they're all kind of working for the same team, all rolling out the same stuff. Then you have, like I said, Sam Altman's there, Jeff Bezos, and they're trying to roll out all this AI stuff, which we've been talking about, which is a big part of the major agenda to basically bring in AI, track and trace everyone, put them into smart cities, and your average maggots out there all cheering, oh, Trump just made America great again with a $600 billion deal now. And it's, most of it's to enslave and kill you.
Why are people cheering this on? I mean, why isn't Trump doing a broadcast from the Oval Office that says we're going to stop Israel from annexing all of Gaza, removing 1 million out of the 2 million people that still remain there, displacing them all over the place while at the end of a gun barrel, and then bombing the ones that remain?
It is the most disgusting, heinous thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm so glad I haven't seen it in person. Just so you know, Stu, when I asked my wife and daughter where they wanted to go in Europe, the topic of Israel came up, Jerusalem, because my wife and daughter are very into what you could call Christian type things. And a lot of that stuff's based in that area, and they wanted to go see a lot of the history. And I told them I can't be anywhere near Israel. I just will not be able to. I'd be in jail so quick. I'd be just yelling at everyone, trying to beat everyone up, because this is absolutely disgusting. I can't believe more people aren't talking about it. This is the most heinous Holocaust, you could call it, although the first one wasn't real, but the most heinous genocide in not only modern history, but potentially ever. I've never heard of one this disgusting, where they're just like chopping off little kids' limbs for fun, raping them in front of their parents, starving them to death now. This is, and who's talking about it? Hardly anyone's talking about it. And getting back to your question though, why do people still support this stuff? It's because they're under massive mind control. They've been under mind control their entire lives. With Israel, they call it Israel, which is in the Bible, but it actually described a person, not a place. And then the Rothschilds used that to create their nation state for the Khazarian sort of Nephilim empire, and use the whole sort of Jew thing as part of it. And they've been just basically under mind control their whole lives, thinking, and they're told all the time, Israel's our greatest ally. Really, it sank a U.S. ship once for like no reason and tried to kill everyone. It was greatly involved in 9/11, which Trump, by the way, before he was president, is on video saying that we don't know the real story about 9/11, but he's seen some of the documents. And then what he said was, and a lot of it's Saudis, and now he's in Saudi Arabia. People are cheering it on because he's so-called making America great again. And they're also under mind control too because of the Jones Plantation type stuff, which is so well done now. So what a big part of that whole pedo Pete stuff was to make it as bad as possible. They're having doing lap dances for little kids in elementary school, right? So people like yourself and many others were like, we have to get rid of this, whatever this is, we have to get rid of it. And they do it so well that they just say, well, anything's better than this. And then Trump comes in and they're under the mind control. They're like, oh, he's going to save us from that stuff, while they bring in even their bigger agendas, which is basically the Greater Israel Project and the actual genocide of everyone on Earth, which a lot of people might have said a couple of years, like 5 years ago, Jeff, you're so, that's pretty extreme. That's such an insane theory that they're trying to kill everyone on Earth. But now we have the proof. It's called COVID's lethal injections, the COVID's vaccines, and they tried to kill everyone on Earth over the last 5 years, including Donald Trump, who was sort of behind it with Operation Warp Speed and still calls himself today the father of the vaccine. And people can't see it because they're under mind control.
Where does it go from here? So now that they have everybody under mind control, war with Iran is baked in. The Greater Israel Project, the benchmark for success, has been set. It's been shown to the entire world that they will stop at nothing. As you just mentioned, they're raping little children in front of their parents and cutting off their limbs before they discard them and just toss them aside and move on to the next household, the next family, bomb the next school. So they're ruthless and unrelenting in their quest for Greater Israel. They've stated that they want to, burn some red heifers and light them on fire and then play in their ashes and then build the third temple and usher in the Antichrist. What's next?
Well, they're just going to continue as long as they can.
Who's going to stop them? News. They're not going to stop unless they're stopped. Who's going to stop them?
There's a few ways to stop them, and they're actually not even that hard. And I've been talking about them since I started the Dollar Vigilante in 2010. And that is to stop using their money system. So stop using dollars. Just stop. I know it's going to be hard for a while. Start using Monero. Start using Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not that great. They kind of have it under control now, but Monero for sure. That takes away a massive amount.
Start using JProof. That's what you should be advocating for here. Start using JProof.
JProof's way better than the dollar. There you go. You got a great recommendation for me on that. It's a million times better than the dollar. The dollar actually continues on all these things, not just the dollar, the euro, and all those sort of things. And stop giving them all your money. I don't know how people got tricked into thinking they owe their owners. They think they're slaves, like half the money they make every year. So stop doing that. Stop using the money system, and that alone, those two things alone, would change this world so dramatically. It would be absolutely, we'd all be in shock at how beautiful and amazing and peaceful and prosperous the world all of a sudden would become. And it's all sitting right there. But the problem is, most people, and they've been doing this for centuries, they're under fluoride, they're being chemtrailed, they got aluminum in their brain now, they're being injected with aluminum and nanotech, which actually Elon Musk wants to use to start controlling your mind with, and they're already starting with stuff like that. They're going to be using the 5G to control your mind and stuff like that. I know that sounds crazy, but it's totally true. You just have to look into it. So I've kind of come to the point, Stu, like, unless people wake up enough, and they're just not. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because of all the things I just said. You really just have to protect yourself and take care of yourself at this point. I don't think, for example, I'll give you an example. I don't think this is going to continue to get worse and worse and worse and worse without something stopping. I think at a certain point, people will wake up. I think they're starting to wake up. They're just slow. For me, I've been awake for 20, 30 years, not woke, awake, like actually awake. And it appears really slow, but if you actually step back and look at it, it's actually happening fairly quickly. Like, it was only 10 years ago that a lot of people thought what was on mainstream media was actually real. Now most people, almost everyone knows it's not real anymore. So they're not really watching that, but now they've been tricked into the social media stuff with Mark Zuckerberg, who's a Rothschild, and Elon Musk, who they say is the new hero, and their algorithms are pumping out all the usual stuff they used to do with the mainstream media. To me, really, like for me personally, what I'm doing is just taking care of myself and my family. I'm here in Mexico as an example. This is they say it's dangerous for a reason. It's dangerous because a lot of people here won't listen to the government or do anything.
Yeah, I was so fearful when I came to see you. I just shuddered in fear. I didn't want to walk alone. Like, couldn't even take a cab. Just kidding. It was completely opposite. It was totally relaxed. Everybody was super friendly and nice. As a matter of fact, they kind of view you as a threat, as an American, for sure. They're like, whoa, we don't want any part of what you have to offer coming into our country. And, other than the fact that it's led by a Jew, Claudia Scheinbaum. Yeah, but they will. Yeah, they will accept your money. Reluctantly, though, they would much rather you give them pesos, which both of them are worthless fiat currencies. And, the same people are behind both of them. They're backed by nothing at all. The euro, the same exact thing. Are you still waiting for your Iraqi dinar to go? What was it, to go to $1 or something like that? Is that going to happen, Jeff?
I can't believe that's still around. I heard that crazy conspiracy theory, which it is, like 15, 20 years ago. And every year for a while, someone would go, should I buy the Iraqi dinar? And I'm like, why? And they're like, someone's got a theory that they're going to back it by gold. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. And it's still going on. People still talk about this stuff. They should, another promotion for you, they should just get some JProof. Like, if it's between Iraqi dinar and JProof, if it's between dollar and euro or JProof, if you only have those two options, JProof. I'd also suggest Monero because it's untrackable.
Yeah. So wait, are you saying that only under the circumstances that it's between the dinar and JProof would you ever buy JProof?
Oh no, I have some. I did buy some. Stu, I'm so sad. You sent me a message right after it launched, and it was like 0.0001 cents or something. And I was so busy that whole week that by the time I looked at it, it had already gone up like 100 times. So I didn't get too into it at the beginning. Yeah, and
then we had our retracement, and now so we had that unorganic, enemy-inspired pump over Easter weekend. Ironically, over Easter weekend, that the enemy decides to attack JProof. And they attacked it by buying, and then that brought people into a pump trap, of course, and then it hit 200 million, and then of course they started systematically selling off. A couple of these, like enemy, very hostile wallets actually sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars in losses. They lost hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure that they retrace that thing all the way down sub 50. And now if you look at the long-term chart from launch until where we are right now, which is a floor of about 6 cents, it's just a perfect, organic, nice upward trend. Holders are sticking around, actually increasing. So I really am happy with what I see there as far as stability is concerned, and it's doing exactly what it was supposed to do. And it's actually backed by something, because it's backed by resentment. It's backed by patriots. It's backed by an army of dissidents and people who've had enough with this bullshit.
Backed by resentment. That's so good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is. I mean, resentment can be a utility, Jeff.
I never thought about it.
Yeah. So it's not one of these pump and dump meme coins. It's not one of these scams that these Jews run, and people like Dave Portnoy and people like Donald Trump and people like, Javier Milei or Melania, your first lady, Eric Trump. I mean, these people are serial rug pullers, and they pump just like you saw JProof do, but except for when they hit their top, which I don't think 200 million is the top by any means for JProof, but when they hit that, when Dave Portnoy or when Eric Trump or when the Hawk Tuah girl decide, well, that's enough, or they're insiders that got in, pre-release, which there was none of that going on here, and all the soul scans are available, they just pull the rug, and then they just run off with your bag, and then you're like hurt or really pissed off for a while, and then it's like you find another one, and then you get your hopes up again, and you go through it. It's like this addiction and this like cycle of Stockholm syndrome where you're like, well, they won't abuse me again, and even if they do, it'll feel good. Andrew Tate says, people fantasize about getting raped. Well, he actually announces, I'm going to rape you. I'm about to pull the rug on this one, and then he goes ahead and does it. But with me holding the 85%, with me having complete domination and total control and never giving control to anyone else and never selling a penny, it can't do that. So that's what I like about it. The utility is resentment. What it's backed by is resentment, and it gives people an opportunity. So there was my sales pitch for you to go. Right now is a great entry point, Jeff.
Well, like I said, I actually did buy some. So it went up to 20 cents, and I was like, okay, that's gone too high, too fast. I'm a crypto guy, so I look at the charts. So I'm like, that's too high, too fast. It's got to have a retracement. So I waited, and then got back down all the way to 3 cents. And actually, I started talking about it in our Vigilante Insiders Club at that point. And I said, I really like what Stu's doing there. I still haven't had time to fully look into it. I messaged you about it. I'm like, Stu, I need to understand it more if I'm going to get behind it. Because, I have to be very careful about what I promote and stuff like that, because that's
There's some other people that have said the same thing. Jake Shields said that very publicly the other day. He's like, look, I love Stu. I just don't have an understanding of what it is that's going on here. So I'm going to schedule a time to sit down with him. There's also Ryan Matta. This guy, he can't talk about anything other than Bitcoin, because it'll get him tossed out of these Bitcoin conferences where he goes and speaks at them, because, these Bitcoin maxis are very, very protective of Bitcoin. They don't want to talk about so-called coins. But, if it was Bitcoin, let me ask you, you're very big into crypto. Let me ask you, if this was just some run-of-the-mill coin, and if it was just some rug-pulling scam, and it was just some stupid idea that Stew Peters came up with, why is it the only crypto coin in the history of cryptocurrency to be actively suppressed and censored and attacked? Why would an exchange like Jupiter allow for somebody to go set up a liquidity pool external and then program into the entire exchange that when you use our contract address for JProof, it directs any purchase that you make toward Orca, which is this external liquidity pool, and then it takes half of what you're purchasing. So if you spend $1,000, you only get $500 in JProof, and it takes your other $500, robs you of it, and then goes and washes it with Solana, and then it gets sent to God knows where, probably Rothschild Boulevard in Tel Aviv. So, if JProof were not a threat, if JProof were just some stupid idea or some rug-pulling scam by Stew Peters or just some random coin, why all of the attacks? Have you ever seen this before?
Oh, yeah. My whole life's been these attacks. I've seen it thousands of times before. Anytime you do anything.
You've seen coins like this suppressed and censored? You've seen coins actively go through suppression and censorship.
Oh.
They refuse to verify us. You've seen all of this thousands of times?
Sorry, I was talking in life in general. I've seen that they will attack anything that isn't, something that they want in the world.
Sure.
As far as cryptos, I've definitely seen, like Monero is a good example, actually, of one that they've not tried to do everything to keep it down. They haven't done exactly what you're talking about, but they've had it delisted from pretty much every exchange on Earth, which is pretty amazing that it's still doing so well. So yeah, like probably their top, I'll say this, probably some of their top coins that they really want to make sure don't succeed is probably Monero. And then some of the other ones like Pirate Chain and probably JProof because of the it's backed by resentment, which actually I'd never heard before. I've been so busy still. If I wasn't so busy, I would have bought right after it launched when you told me. And I should mention this. You told me after it launched, because, you know, some people will tell people before it launches and give them a thing. And hey, if you get some stuff, I'll give you some coins and all that. No, you did it totally legitimately. It's just I was busy that week and I totally missed that.
Well, the other thing is then too, you have influencers running toward me and saying like, look, you throw me 1 million tokens and, you know, I'll go shill this thing. No. That's not what this is about. Some empty posts that, you know, what you run it up to 200 million again, run it up to 20 cents so that these Jews can, you know, try to fuck with it. No, I don't need that. Like, I'm not giving up my people's precious supply so that you can go disingenuously talk about it. You'll just FOMO in later. I know you will, because you're going to see exactly what this thing is going to do and that it's never going anywhere. But yeah, they refuse to verify us as well. They're verifying the coin rug pulling scams by Jews. They're doing that. All those coins get verified almost immediately when they're minted. You know, these things, they happen all the time. I can go on the Dex screener right now and show you thousands and thousands of verified tokens. JProof, though, on the other hand, no. There has never in cryptocurrency history ever, mark my words, go do your research and come back to me. And I'm not talking to you, Jeff, because I know that you're very well versed in this, but to the audience, go do your research and look. And if Jeff can give me the, you know, like the name of a coin that's ever faced this totalitarian oppression and this crackdown of censorship and just building a firmament over the top of it, and they've tried at every single angle, including losing hundreds of thousands of dollars to sell the thing down. I've just never seen that wide of an attack on any crypto before. But anyway, that's not what this segment was about. You know, I just look. I'm looking at the landscape right now with all of these Trump supporters. I was talking in another segment, and I'm about to talk to Carlos about this too. But I went out to the golf course. I don't golf. It was just a nice day out with my kids. And in the clubhouse, there's all these Trump supporters, Jeff, saying, whoa, isn't it great what Trump is doing? And I'm like, no, it's not. It's terrible. But for these people, like you said, whether it's fluoride or chemtrails or a combination of the injection and all of their boosters that came after, whatever it is that has these people like completely out of touch with reality and refuse, by the way, just to be honest with themselves, even in private. When Trump is gone, then what? I mean, JD Vance, will there be this, you know, astroturf grassroots populist movement behind JD Vance? Like, what is next for America when Trump is done fooling everybody and lying to everybody and breaking all of these promises and doing the bidding of the secular homosexual nation state of Israel? When he's done doing all of that, then what?
Can you hear me okay? Because it's kind of been choppy for me for the last minute or so.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, after Trump, there's not going to really be an after. All this stuff's going to collapse in the next couple of years. This is all set up. This is what I wrote about in my book, The Control of Demolition, the American Empire. I wrote all about it. That this has all been set up for like over a century. And the U.S. dollar is going to collapse. Actually, a lot of the stuff that I say is good is all going to happen. The U.S. government's bankrupt. It's insolvent. They now pay more for interest payments than the military. And the military is basically like the most evil terrorist organization on earth, except for the IOF, of course. They're both pretty evil at this point. Not necessarily every single person in it, by the way, but the entire what they actually are actually really trying to do. They actually pay more on just the interest on the debt now than the entire military. And Trump just bumped that up. Remember, he was going to like balance the budget and pay off all the debt and all that kind of stuff. No, he bumped up the military budget to over $1 trillion, which is like a record. And still, they pay more for interest payments on the debt alone. So this is a banana republic. This is Weimar. This is every collapse of every empire that you've ever heard about, which is interesting because the average age of an empire is 250 years. And what's this? This is the 249th anniversary of the US coming up on July 4th. It might actually implode right on the actual year that it turns 250 because it's all coming down, all of it. There's not going to be anything that anyone's going to recognize a couple of years from now. Nothing. In fact, many people might be dead, unfortunately. They've already been injected with this poison nanotech, which is there for a reason. Bill Gates says it's a self-assembling operating system. It's now being basically controlled through things like 5G and Starlink with Elon Musk. And when they set that off, it'll kill a lot of people. So I don't expect much. I make no plans. Like I said, apocalypse planning for my travel is just go with the flow. We don't know how many days we've got left here until everything just goes down. And that's why I'm here on my ranch, just getting ready for it. We won't recognize anything. And I know you're a hockey fan. I was talking to you before this, that it's too bad the Minnesota Wild lost, and my Oilers are still doing really well. And I said to you, I think the Wild will be really good in the next few years, but I kind of had to put a caveat, and that's if the NHL exists, if the US exists in its current form, which actually, if it doesn't, is the best thing that could happen at this point. We need people to go back and rule themselves, to have 300, or I don't know how many people are in the U.S. now because they keep busing and shipping them in, but 400 million governments in the U.S., not one government. And the whole plan of all this stuff is to have a one world government, which is kind of interesting because as soon as Trump got selected, and it is selected, it's not elected, it's all a show. Elon Musk was always wearing his New World Order jacket. They all tweeted New World Order. This is all part of the old New World Order, which is part of like the Club of Rome. It's also part of the technocrats, which Elon Musk's grandfather was the leader of 100 years ago, to make this one world order. And that's where it's all going. So what's after Trump? Well, what's after everything collapses, and almost everything will collapse. And a lot of that's actually good. You just got to take care of yourself, make sure you're physically strong, mentally strong, spiritually strong. That's going to be actually the most important. That's going to be the only way you're going to survive the next few years. Be as connected as possible to Source, to God, and whatever happens at this point. This is the end. This is the apocalypse. This is the end of days. This is the end of Kali Yuga as well. And it's going to be very interesting. I have some great news, though. I think there's going to be some massive changes on a energetic, spiritual level in the next 10 years, from one aspect or another. So that's why I say I'm not actually too worried. Like, I'm here in Mexico. I'm on my ranch. I've got 40 dogs. I've got lots of things here. I've got bunkers, got everything. We're ready for it. But I can't imagine at any point basically this beast system, which is now the US and Israel, coming in here and just totally destroying everything. Now they want to. Trump's mentioned this many times. They want to come and attack the cartels. Well, there's two cartels. There's cartels that are basically like families that are really the wealthiest and most respected in their area, and they, for the most part, take care of that area. And then there's the CIA cartels, and those are the ones that run all the drugs, run all the weapons, they cause all the chaos and all that kind of stuff. But I can't see them bringing in a new world order, one world government system. I don't think people are that dumbed down yet. I don't think it can be pushed that far before people wake up. Here in Mexico, people will not back down. I know we have a Jew president right now, but they have tried to kill her a couple times already. And I'm not saying I support that necessarily, but the people here are, for the most part, very awake. And there's a lot of people in the U.S. too. It's unfortunate. A lot of them have been fluoridated a lot, and chemtrailed and lethally injected and all that. And actually, what the main thing that's actually damaging most of those people who have all the guns in the U.S., which is like some of the only hope for people in the U.S., is they're all killing themselves. If you just look at most of them, they're like 100, 200 pounds overweight. They're eating it like a McDonald's. They're poison. All that stuff's poison. They're putting the vaccine in the food now. That's how they're getting those guys. So that's why I say, just take care of yourself and your family, and that's really all that matters at this point. And if you get spiritually connected and remain connected, you will probably make it through this, and then we'll move on to a great, beautiful new age. And it might come as soon as 2030 to 2035. That's why they always mention this 2030 agenda. They know their time's running out. And but take care of yourself and get as connected as much as possible as you can right now, because that's all this is. This is all spiritual. This is all what life is. This is all an experience we're having in the mind of God. And actually, it's not even all that serious. That's the point I've gotten to. But I do meditate for hours in a Tesla bath and in plasma every day, which, by the way, you used it in Acapulco. How's your shoulder doing?
Yeah, actually, I was just going to mention that my shoulder is doing absolutely fantastic. It was the most mind-blowing thing ever. And I want to do some extended conversations with you, whether I have to come back to Mexico or if you want to come here to our studios. We got to do some serious talking about this Tesla machine. People just don't understand what this is, and they're going to look at you like you're a cracked out conspiracy theorist. Fine, you can do that. Fine. Well, then it's not for you. But this technology that was, I guess, is replicated the right word?
Yeah, you could say that. So basically, Nikola Tesla had rediscovered, in my opinion, plasma, which is it's all around us. We're actually surrounded by energy. It's also beautiful. And in the ether is something called plasma, which is actually God, life force energy. And I think that's what all those old structures used to be, that people say are from Tartaria or things like that. And they're all these ornate, really massive structures, and they have antennas on them and stuff. I think they were basically grabbing the plasma out of the ether and then healing themselves and getting more connected to source through it, because it also does that as well. So that they've been trying to wipe that out for like thousands of years. That's why they're attacking places like Syria and stuff like that, because there's still a lot of that stuff still there. So that basically what these things are super demonic. They want to destroy anything good on Earth. They want to destroy all humans. And so they've been trying to get rid of this as much as possible, and they've done a really, really good job. They've actually fooled everyone into thinking, yeah, there was nothing really here in the Americas before the Jew Christopher Columbus one day discovered it. There's already people here, and then he called them Indians, which was weird because it's not India. But there was stuff here way before that.
Which is weird because it's not India. I love you, Jeff. We do have to talk about this Tesla machine, though. I have to introduce that to our audience. I would be doing a tremendous disservice to them if I didn't. We blew past this, so I got to get to it. Jeff Berwick, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And I will be getting a hold of you, and we can talk very soon on the Tesla thing, as well as I can fill you in more on the resentment back JProof. So until then, God bless you.
Those are the two things we got to get caught up on. That I've been so busy, but yeah, those two things we've got to get caught up on.
Actually, you should hang around for this. I'm up against a hard break, but you should hang around for this real quick. I'm going to give this clue. I got to do this right now. Okay, it's time for the first clue of the week in our newest game. Look at all those Jews. There's one that Dan Bongino said killed himself now, Jeffrey Epstein. There's some more Jews. Well, there's the biggest Jew of all of them. There's Donald Trump. There he is. Shabbos Goys and Jews. It's time for our favorite game. Name that Jew. Name that Jew. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to give our first clue of this week. The first clue is both his maternal and paternal grandfathers were rabbis. So for our Jew of the week, this Jew on both sides, his mother's side and his father's side, both of those grandparents were rabbis. Jeff Berwick, if he's still with it, there he is. I'll give you the first guess live on air. Do you know who our Jew of the week is?
I'm going to need more information.
Going to need more info. All right. Well, we will give more info as we continue. Again, God bless you. We'll talk very soon. Jew of the week.